I don't know if I'm just stupid, so I don't understand the book. There has to be a reason why everyone likes it. This series got sold to a publishing house for like $1 million. Hey everyone, it's Mia. So I feel like I'm a pretty picky reader, and what I mean by that is that I feel like I quit books relatively quickly, like very quickly in fact. And because of that, I have quite a few DNFs, and I thought that for today's video I would talk about some of the books that I have DNF'd. So DNF just stands for did not finish, if you weren't already aware. So I have a list of books here that I DNF'd, and all of these I feel like are pretty popular because I read them because I had heard good things about them. So yeah, I thought that I would talk about these books, and I know that some of them are really popular for a reason. So if you think that I should give them another chance, then please tell me. I do plan to give some of these another chance just because I need to understand why they're so beloved. So yeah, anyway, let's get started. So the first book is called Stalking Jack the Ripper, and basically I listened to this as an audiobook, and this is a pretty popular book. It's set in Victorian London, and it's basically about this girl, and I can't remember her name, but I remember it was kind of like fancy-ish, and basically she doesn't act like a normal lady, and she's more interested in corpses and stuff. So she works with her uncle to look at bodies for science and dissect them and things like that. And then there's this random other guy who's a medical student, and honestly I didn't read that much of it, but I didn't have any real reason for not finishing the story. Part of the reason why I ditched it so quickly was because I had also borrowed the audiobook of The Vanishing Stair. Was that it? Yeah, the second book in the Truly Devious series, and I just wanted to listen to that instead. So maybe I will revisit the Stalking Jack the Ripper story. Also, I remember listening to this audiobook while cooking. Like, that was like the one instance I was listening to it, but like it was a long cooking session, and I think I was just really distracted, so I wasn't taking in as much as I could have. Okay, so next I am going to be talking about Daisy Jones and the Six, and this is a book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is a very popular book. And this book was pretty popular as well, I guess. I think that they're very similar. So Daisy Jones and the Six is basically written as like a really long interview between the main character, who's like an interviewer, and she interviews all these different characters who revolve around Daisy Jones and the Six, which is the name of a band, and Daisy Jones is like the lead singer. So first I tried to read this as a book, but it's kind of interesting because it is like an interview, so it's basically like question, answer. It's not really prose, I wouldn't say, but I mean it's still interesting because I love listening to dialogue anyway, or reading dialogue. And anyway, after I tried to read it as a book, I returned it to the library, and then I listened to it as an audiobook, but it was kind of confusing because you're just listening to their voices, so you kind of forget which voice belongs to which character, but also none of the characters really appealed to me, and I didn't care too much about the story of the band. So yeah, I just think that the book is not for me. Okay, so the next book is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. So how old was I when I tried to read this? I think I was like 15, 16. I had read the first book, which I thought was merely average, but I wanted to try the second one anyway. So I tried it, but God, this book was so long. I got so sick of it so quickly, and I remember I just like stopped reading a little bit through and then just like kept on skipping ahead to see if anything happened. I just think that overall Sarah J Maas's writing is not for me, and I'm not hating on her in any way. Like, I know that there is a lot of hate for her books and there's a lot of love for her books, but I think that maybe it's just something about her writing, because I don't really like any of her books. Like, I didn't like Throne of Glass either. I just thought it was merely average. If you didn't already know, A Court of Mist and Fury is the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and it's basically kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but there's fairies, and yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what else to add, but you've probably already heard of it anyway, so yeah. So the next book is An Ember in the Ashes, and basically I don't know much about this book. I just know that it's a fantasy book, and I know that it's part of a series, and I know that a lot of people really like this series. Like, I remember watching a booktube video, I think it was by A Clockwork Reader, and she was saying how much she loved the series, and I think books are still coming out, or they were coming out and now the series is finished. I don't know, but I just know that there was like a lot of love for this series. So I was like, ooh, I want to read it. And I read like the first couple of chapters, but I just never really got into it, and maybe I was just having a lazy reading time because I just gave up on it pretty quickly and then I returned it. I do have plans to revisit the series because I want to see why it's so loved. Like, surely there's a reason, and maybe I'll really enjoy it too if I just like push through and get into the plot. So yeah, tell me if you have read An Ember in the Ashes and that whole series and whether I should try reading it as well. So similarly, another fantasy YA book that I tried to read is called Children of Blood and Bone, and it's also very popular. And I was particularly interested in this book series because, fun fact, I don't know if you already knew this, but I'm pretty sure that this series got sold to a publishing house for like $1 million. And I was just like, wow, if that's how much money they spent on this book series, then it has to be something really special, right? So yeah, that was just one of the reasons why. And yeah, so I wanted to read it and I did borrow it and I think I read the first couple of chapters, but I just wasn't too interested in it. And this is probably just me being lazy again, and I think that I will try and reread it in the future because I want to read more YA fantasy anyway, and I want to know why it's so loved. So I will probably try and reread it again. Okay, now for a book that I actually did read a fair amount through, and I believe I read about like 50% of this book, and it is called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This book I really didn't know much about. I just knew that a lot of people really loved it on BookTube. Like, the BookTubers I watched were like, oh my god, this book is so good. And from my understanding, it's more of like a literary young adult book, which you can kind of tell from the prose. I mean, I read like almost half of it and I still don't really know what the plot is about, but I think the main premise of the book is just about the friendship between the main character called Aristotle and his friend Dante. I don't know if I'm just stupid, so I don't understand the book. I comprehended it, but I don't think I really got the deepness of it. I don't know why I stopped reading it, but I think I just got really bored by it. I think that I should retry it because I think that I should read more literary kind of books, especially more literary young adult. There has to be a reason why everyone likes it. Moving on, the next book that I read, that I tried to read, which I read a fair amount of, I read like 30%, it's called If We Were Villains. Now this book, I read it on my Kindle, like I started reading it on my Kindle, and it just seemed to go on forever. Like, it was really long, so I don't know if that's part of the reason why I lost interest so quickly, which is kind of weird because it's like the kind of book that interests me so much, like from the blurb. Basically, it is about a group of characters and they all attend this art school, and these characters specifically study acting and doing Shakespeare plays. That sounds kind of weird, but yeah. And they all have like their own character types, and basically it's that, but there's like also a murder/crime that occurs as well. Academia and murder sounds like the perfect combination for me. Like, I'm really interested in that whole dark academia thing. And now it's been such a long period of time where I can't really remember what happened, but if I do start reading it again, it'll be really repetitive. So what I need to do is just wait a heap, then reread it from the beginning. But yeah, I just remember it being really slow and it was kind of disappointing. Like, I didn't think the characters were that strong, but I still want to read the whole thing because, I don't know, it just sounds like my cup of tea. I just need to try it again. Lastly on this list is another book that I plan to eventually properly read, and it's called I'll Give You the Sun. So I read like 15% of this book, and I just, when I read it, I was like, what the heck is this? But I've heard that I just need to finish it and everything will make sense and it will really blow you away. So I do plan to keep on reading it and finish it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I will read it. How do I describe it? I think it's basically about these two siblings. I can't remember if they're twins or just siblings, but yeah, I think it just follows a girl and a boy, and the boy's chapters are in the past and the girl's chapters are in the present. That's what I can really remember, and I think it's more of like a hard-hitting contemporary. I don't know if that's true, I just know that there's like death in it and tougher issues. Like, it's kind of like a sad contemporary. I mean, that's what I've gathered from the first couple of chapters, so yeah. But yeah, I do plan to reread that one. So those are some of the books that I did not finish, and if you think that any of these books in particular I should try again because they are really good, then please let me know, because yeah, I don't know which ones I should bother with and which ones I shouldn't. I do have more books that I DNF'd, particularly romances, like new adult and adult romances, and I mean, I think they're kind of funny because sometimes you go into a book because you watched a recommendation of it online and you go into it and then you realize that it's not really what you signed up for. So I might do a video about romances I did not finish if you want to see that. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more videos from me about books, reading, writing, that kind of stuff, then consider subscribing. Bye!